Well, Theresa May starts her speech in the main hall behind me here in about 35 minutes. But before I talk about that, some breaking news here. Conservative MP James Duddridge, who is a backbench MP, has submitted a letter of no confidence to the 1922 committee that runs the Conservative Party, saying he's not met a single MP who thinks the Prime Minister will lead us into another election. Now, if there are 48 letters of no confidence given to that committee, it means that there is then a leadership contest. This couldn't be a sort of worse start to Theresa May's speech preparations, and it might be the start of a flood of these kind of letters coming in, depending on how well this speech goes, because we think that they're close to that threshold of 48 letters. Some other MPs, Andrew Bridgen, for instance, has said that he has submitted one. But Theresa May is going to go into this main hall here to try to give the political speech of her life. It's called Opportunity in Our Own Hands. That is the message she's going to be putting out. She will say she passionately believes that the best days for Britain lie ahead of us and that the future is full of promise. She's going to be making a number of announcements. We know that she had to bring forward one of them yesterday, yesterday about immigration. She's also going to announced that fuel duty will be kept at the same rate for the 9th year in a row. That was something that we think was going to be in the budget later on, but they've had to pull it forward to try to fill the hole from the immigration policy. And she's also going to be saying that the party is one of patriotism but not nationalism, a party that believes in business but is not afraid to hold business to account. Now, that is quite an interesting line there. That is a feeling possibly responding to Jeremy Corbyn's line that capitalism is running amok, that free markets aren't serving people. And she's going to contrast herself with Jeremy Corbyn, we think, throughout this speech, because people here will be very worried about the scenes they saw in Liverpool last week at the Labour conference, a party looking like it was readying for government, and they do not like what they are selling to the public. And we've got to remember, though, Theresa May will just be hoping to get through this speech unscathed, because last year the set fell down around her, her voice went, she had to be passed cough sweets, and then a comedian got on stage and gave her a resignation form, which he claimed was from Boris Johnson.
Well, as you say, she's now facing this fresh challenge, perhaps a leadership challenge, but also it will be a chance for her to outshine Boris Johnson, who basically stole the show yesterday.
That's right, Tokes. Boris Johnson has come to this conference for the last few years, both under Theresa May and David Cameron, and managed to steal an entire day of it. The carefully choreographed announcements all out the window. And he arrived here yesterday in a media scrum. He could barely make it to the hall, where people had queued for about 2 hours to get in. It was absolutely packed. And he gave the kind of speech someone gives when they're challenging for the leadership. He talked about taxes, housing and Margaret Thatcher. Theresa May says she wasn't listening, but here's what she had to say about Boris.
Two things that Boris said that I am cross about. He wanted to tear up our guarantee to the people of Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. You know, we are all, he and I, all members here are members of the Conservative and Unionist Party. That's because we believe in the union of the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland is part of that union.
Theresa May might not have been in that hall to hear the speech, but there were a lot of MPs who were, some senior ones like Ian Duncan-Smith and Priti Patel. And if they now are going to make a move against the Prime Minister, we may see more letters of no confidence submitted this afternoon after the speech. And then we could be going back to Westminster from this conference with a leadership race. And Boris Johnson running on the Brexiteer side. There are lots of people here who loved that speech by him yesterday, and they're walking around with badges that say Chuck Checkers. And there's even some people going into that hall with T-shirts saying Chuck Checkers.